my assumption is that all of you have burning questions. In case you don't, I have a couple of questions. So if you have no questions, it's fine, and I'm going to have a great chat here. But I'm sure that you do. Let's get started. Who wants to go with the first question? There is a microphone somewhere. There it is. So it'll come to you. So stop. So the moment you get the microphone, hold the microphone very clearly close to your mouth, so the people also online can hear you. All right. Who has this first question? Yeah.
Okay, let me be the icebreaker. So, Sacha, can you go back a bit in 2009 when you had the cash flow issues? What was the toughest, what was the most important decision you took at that time that made you get rid of those issues, cash flow issues?
Look, I mean, at the beginning, you're just managing it day by day because you have a limited amount of cash and your cash needs are like usually twice or three times bigger than what you have. So you just try to postpone whatever you can postpone without totally destroying the things, and at the same time putting as much energy to find something more sustainable. So I basically had like two approach. The first approach was that I was just selling equity of the company in the beginning. So I sold to kind of friends and family, people I met, 45% of the company. And then when in 2010 I found a small PE investor who agreed to buy, to bring us a first real capital. At the time it was like 2 million euros, which was for us enormous. We basically, I had then to build a kind of small system where I moved my partners in a holding company, and then we let the P in the operational company, so I was able still, even if I didn't have any more the equity, I still controlled the whole thing. So I was like, have 55% of the holding, which holds 60% of the operational company. So that's basically, it was like late 2010, early 2011 when we completed that deal. So from 2009 and 2010, we're just taking money wherever we was able to found it, combined with postponing whatever we was able to postpone.
Okay, I understand. So you wasn't that attached about the company, but more for the vision of the company. What will happen in the future? Because I was in the industry for a few years. I was working for Betfair for a while. And what will happen in the future when I know that there are lots of mergers in this industry. When you will merge with a bigger one? When do you think that will happen?
So look, I think that we're already behind that because Superbet is already too large for any of those companies. Because if, let's say, Betfair or Entain would like to buy Superbet, which I would anyhow not sell, but even if theoretically they would buy us, we're already like 30% of their size, which means that we will control them and not the other way around. So I don't believe that we are like a dream shareholders for them. And Superbet is already, we acquired a company in Belgium. It was a several hundreds of millions of euros transaction in September last year. We are looking to some other acquisition. As you probably know, we have sold a minority stake to Blackstone, which is the biggest private equity company in the world, an alternative asset management company in the world, with close to $1 trillion under management, which means that we have an easy access to capital. Unfortunately, more expensive today than 1 year ago because of the situation in the markets. But still, if a nice opportunity arises somewhere, Superbet have a kind of $1 to $1.5 billion of power to take debt easily to do any kind of acquisition. So my ambition is that we will be the one who will consolidate the industry and not the one being consolidated.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Hello, Sacha. Thank you so much. I'm Maria. Going back to the history line, could you please stop now to 2019, I think, when you hired John? And can you please tell us the challenges you faced in the moment you decided to change the power structure, and how was the trust relationship built between you and John? And if you can give some advices to other people that are now at the point where they need to make a step back in order to grow their business.
Again, it's a very, very individual things, because every person is unique in his own way. And here you discuss about the kind of special dynamics between two persons. So I was lucky to have met Johnny a few years back when he was still running for, at that time the name was Paddy Power Betfair, today it's Flutter. He was probably one of the top 3-4 people in their organization, running the whole M&A, running the whole operations, all the international markets. He orchestrated their acquisitions in Australia, was moved to Australia, then went in the US. So I knew him, and I knew that he's really very, very talented and very strong person in running a company like I was hoping Superbet will become. And we started discussing from early 2018. Took us a year and a half to come to the conclusion. And at the beginning, everything was looking very ideal. Then we had the times when, you know, both of us went through the things. Okay, I was not expecting that it worked that way. I was thinking it would be different. He was thinking it would be different. So I think you need a lot of maturity, and you need the person involved, let's say me as a founder, but not only founder, but still controlling shareholder, and Johnny as a CEO. We spent a lot of time together, and we spent a lot of time discussing, especially about the topics where we were not on the same, let's say we have a different view how those things have to be done. And usually if you have mature people and smart people and who want to spend the energy trying to understand each other and to basically exclude the ego stuff, because many times, you know, it's my company, it need to be that way, or I'm the CEO, it need to be that way. So we decided, okay, let's take this out and let's try really to focus what is the issue, why you think differently that I, or the other way around, and try to find the best solution. And I think in 95% of the cases, it works very well. And since we are like in this partnership already for 3 years, he became a CEO in August 2019, I just feel that we are more and more efficient on the way that now we already know, I presume I know when Johnny will be fully behind my ideas and when not, and the other way around as well. So we just take the effort when I want to promote something which I think may be controversial with him. I then invite him that we spend a week together somewhere, so we just have time to brainstorm in advance of this happening.
Yeah, this is a very great idea, spending more time talking. And one more thing about motivation. So it's, many people say it's very difficult to motivate people in their companies now. How do you do it?
Look, today Superbet have probably close to 6,000 employees, so I am not the one who knows everyone's motivation. But what we are trying really to do is a kind of combination, because we are not idealistic, so we know that money matters for people. So it's not that someone will just come. So you need to combine the possibility for people to make money, or even a lot of money, if the things are going well and if are doing things, with the ambition, you know, of building something interesting. So I think that today the top 40, 50 people of Superbet share with me the view, okay, how can we do now that within the next 5 years, Superbet become from, 3 to 4 billion euro companies, 20 to 30 billion euro companies. What we need to do differently? What are the things we are lacking? What are the markets? What are the product range? What are the technologies? You know, so that's, and you need to make that kind of combination. So ambition, but combine also that everyone needs to make. I don't believe in the model where the entrepreneur or the founder or whatever take 98% of the profits for himself, and his top guys are just taking a good salary and a good bonus. I just don't believe you will not have the right talents with this. So people who are, to give you an idea, Superbet will probably do an IPO within the next 18 months, maximum 24, and the top 50 people in Superbet will share around 300 million euros in their, this is the management incentive plan. So having that kind, combining the ambition with the payback to the people who make it happen, I think it's really very, very important, and it's something which I think most of the entrepreneurs need to think about, how to be more ambitious, but also how to share the financial rewards of the success if the success came.
Thank you.
Hello, Sacha. My name is Daniel. I want to ask you something about, in fact, you asked Mark in his Q&A session yesterday about cultural integration. I know you bought important companies like Axilis from Croatia and other companies from UK. And I understand from you, you have a very interesting discussion with Mark yesterday evening. Can you give us some conclusion about what you'll do in the next years about this kind of integration?
I'm very far from conclusion. I mean, it was just the first discussion with Mark, and I already, I jumped on the opportunity to invite Mark to be a speaker on the next Superbet management offsite, which we'll do sometimes in the second part of this year, because I think that his experience, it's very, very interesting for us, because we are just now going through a process which he went probably several times during his career. And every example, it's just different. So when we started, we let most of those companies run the same way how they ran before, because we were thinking that if we try to integrate them more, we'll just get to the political issue. So instead of really being focused on making better products and writing better code, they will start to think who will report to whom, who will do what, what will be my budget versus his budget. So we tried. Which I think was a good thing for the beginning, but since those software acquisitions were made in 2017 and 18, so it's already a long time ago, people had time already to adapt, to understand better what we're trying to achieve, and probably we need to find a smart way how to integrate them a bit more. So, I mean, I cannot give you some internal information, but we are now focused on, we just hire a talented person for our people organization who will focus only on product and technology people, and we think that within the next 2 years, it will be more integrated than it was before, but in the same time, we want to leave them that agility, and we try to basically, it's not like it needs to be that way or that way or that way. We want to go to analyze what is the best practices from each of them and try to extend those best practices to all the others and to build something new.
Thank you.
Hello, Sacha. I have a question regarding the new advancements that are taking place in the VR and AR spaces regarding immersive experiences. And I was curious, what is your perspective on that, especially given that you mentioned that Superbet is technology-driven and trying to become one of the most innovative companies, or is one of the most innovative companies in the space regarding gambling and sports betting.
Sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of the question.
So regarding the AR and VR immersive experiences that are starting to become more advanced in the space, especially regarding the gambling trials that are happening right now in the, I would say, the current metaverses with Decentraland and the other places. Look,
I would divide it in two different, so for me, AI, it's one stuff, and the metaverse, it's something different, and I will tell you from which perspective when we are discussing it there. So for the AI, it's already something which is happening. We have a team in London who is doing a lot of AI, machine learning, etc., which we apply mostly in our trading tools in order to build something, we hope, superior to our competitors. And we are really trying to find talents from wherever we can find them for that specific division of Superbet. And this is something which will get more and more usage. And I remember that it really crossed my brain, like in 2017-18, when I was reading an interview in Fortune with someone from Watson, from IBM, and they was asking him, okay, how you know that a self-driving car, it will have to choose between kicking a kid which just went in the road or going on the right and kicking a tree, how will a self-driving car brain make the decision? because normally that kid should not be at that road. And he told me, look, the artificial brain is like a human brain, it's just by training. So you need to repeat and repeat and repeat and improve all of the time. And then I understood, if those guys can make self-driving cars and other things, I'm just sure that a lot of things within our industry, like the trading and so on, will be helped by artificial brains. We have seen this in Go, we have seen this in chess. 20 years ago, the best chess player would easily beat the best computer program. Today, the best computer program would just not give any kind of chance to the best chess player at all. So probably, I know I spoke with Kasparov, that out of 100 parties, the best player in the world, Carlsen, could probably draw 8 of them and lose 92. So this is the difference between what happens 20 years. So I'm sure this will really influence a lot. When it's a metaverse, it's a little bit different. Why? Because in our industry today, and I will tell for the next probably 5 to 8 years, still most of our revenues will come from the classical line. So from sports betting, online casino, online poker, and so on. However, we have founded Superbet Ventures last year. We gave them, I think, 10 million euros as a seed capital. And we have a talented team, one Paul in Bucharest, ex-McKinsey and OLX guy, and Joe in London, from whom we acquired that software company a few years back. And they're basically looking all esports, metaverse, blockchain. So basically looking, I told them, look, for the next 5 to 10 years, probably the revenue are here. However, and especially what also Mark told us yesterday about the 30 years ago, how looked the biggest 20 company and how they look today, it's probable that within the next 10 to 20 years, the revenue will shift. And no one knows from where. Will it be something crypto-related, metaverse-related, or whatever? And so I told them, okay, so you as Superbet Ventures, this is actually your main job. We'll give you money every year so you can put those bets. And I told them, I would consider that you have succeeded if 20 years from now, Superbet will have, like, instead of 2, 4 or 5 revenue streams, and if at least one of those revenue streams was driven by Superbet Ventures, then that's the way. So always being open-minded, but still being realistic, because in the next 3 to 5 years, the metaverse and the esports, etc., will still be a very marginal numbers in the sports betting industry in the world.
Thank you.
Even esports?
Yeah, because on the esports, you have a lot of issues about the latency, because if you bet some big amount and then the people can agree who will lose, it's not a good thing, So there are still, in sports, those kind of things. You have tennis integrity, you have FIFA, you have UEFA, you have a lot of monitoring of this not happening. So it's a kind of full infrastructure which was built in the last 30, 40 years. Company like Sport Radar, like BitGenius, they have all kind of alerts for any sports event in the world. The esports will need to build a kind of infrastructure to prove that the game is fair, that they're not arranging the games, and only after that it can expand toward sports betting. And it's also, you don't forget that esports are still especially practiced by under 18, while it's forbidden to have any kind of gambling activities for under 18. So there are few more big stuff to get sold on the esports. It's a phenomenon. It's sure there are tens and hundreds of millions of people watching, but this making it to become like exploitable by sports betting, we still need, I think we're still 5 years from there.
Hi. I wanted to ask you, since the topic of corporate culture has been on our minds since yesterday and from the first talk, could you tell us what is an aspect of the organizational culture at Superbet that you believe has been key to transforming the company to what it is today?
Look, what I think, and I think that Mark also mentioned it yesterday, and again, I recommend to everyone to watch those Reed Hastings videos on YouTube, especially one of 17 minutes, which is very, very interesting. I try to watch it once every 2 months for the last 5 years. just to remind me, because sometimes you tend to, and culture, it's not something which is defined. I mean, culture like technology, it's something which get adapted, which have to change. A culture for 100 people company, it's not the same as a culture for a 300 people company or 1,000. The culture for a pure Romanian operation is not the same when it becomes cross-border. So this is something, and even I think that we made some mistakes there in the last few years. And I always, when I told you like this, I think that we made some mistakes, I immediately know that I may be totally wrong, and maybe we didn't. So it's something which the future will show to us. But we had that kind of laissez-faire in Superbet, you know. So whatever culture you have, as long as it is okay with some big values, you know, so no hassles, no those kind of things, we just leave you to do it your way. And because of that, today Superbet doesn't have a culture. Superbet have probably a combination of 4 or 5 different cultures. So if you go in Superbet London office, and then in Superbet Bucharest office, and then Superbet Zagreb office, you'll just feel that if you'll not see the red and white colors, you'll just see there are 3 totally different companies. And so this is today really for us, I think the biggest challenge will be in the next 2-3 years for the leadership team to work on this and try to build those common values, and then of course make everyone to change, because it's not like that will be Superbet core who will force the product and tech guys to come their way or the other way around. We need to find a middle ground, and then slowly we need to force everyone, slowly, gently, whatever, to come, so that probably I hope that within 4 to 5 years we'll have something which I would tell, okay, this is really now the Superbet culture.
Right. And I had...
What do you feel is the cause of these differences in culture? Is that the local leadership, or is it acquisition, or?
Look, it's a combination of many. So basically, don't forget that we started as a retailer. As a retailer, you need to have a kind of culture which is more directive, which is more controlling, because you just have thousands of people, you have tens of millions of cash circulating every day. So you need a kind of clear procedures where that cash have to be deposited, how it have to be given to the bank. So it's not a kind of like creative work where you can do, you know, you have 25,000 euros to do whatever you want, you can keep them in your pocket or at your home. No, we need to have very clear procedures. And then when we started developing from 2016 more toward technology and digital, we started to bring people with different set skills. They came from different organizations, so we needed to give them. So it was not like if you had the manager in the retail who needed to report whatever expense he have over 50 euro, you could not bring someone, you know, from a top tech company and tell you, yeah, you know, it's not 50, it's 60, you know. So it put us to, so as we leave them, we came to the situation that we had like 2 companies in Croatia we acquired, and they had very different rules, one from the other. And then when they become part of the same group, it started to be very controversial. Why those guys have cars and we don't? Why those guys have this and we don't, you know? So we understood that we have an issue, but I think that one of the smart move I consider we done is that we didn't really push, okay, let's just now force everyone to do something. Okay, we know that we are an issue, we're aware that we have an issue, but let's just take time to try to find something which is the best solution instead, because if we will just rush to do, okay, this is the new rules everyone need to apply, and if those rules will not work, which most probably wouldn't work, it will be a big credibility issue for the management, you know.
All right. I had another quick question. There have been a lot of people asking what was the most difficult moment or what was a critical moment, and I sort of got the feeling they kept bringing up not the best experiences, to say so. So I wanted to ask you in exchange, what was the most rewarding achievement that you've had over the years, the one that is closest to your heart?
Look, I think there were few different things. One of these, which I still have in my office, you know, it reminds me always that you need to be ambitious. I remember that in 2017, I succeeded to hire the first senior person from Bet365. They was considered as a sect, that no one will never be able to hire a person from Bet365. So I succeeded. Basically, I was very lucky because the guy wanted to move back to London, and Bet365 had a very, very strict policy that whoever worked in Bet365 must be based in Stoke. And Stoke-on-Trent is probably not the most sexy city in the world to live in. So I hired that gentleman, and then a little bit later, he succeeded to convince some persons from his team to join us as well. And that was the moment when I get a letter from Bet365 where they told us from their legal department that they will sue us for this. And for me, that was the best kind of thing. So it was, at least they care about us, you know. So that was a kind of, that was a really nice moment. And then a few years back, I remember about this, so I looked for that letter and I put it, so it's now on the wall of my office in Bucharest. That was one. The other things was that when Blackstone decided to invest in us, because it was really a very, very difficult process. I was lucky to find some very smart people, way smarter than me, to advise me what should be next, because my idea in 2017 what I should do next were very poor, now when I look back on them. And even I was not feeling very comfortable, but I decided to listen to them. So we went through a process which took us like maybe 18 months and cost us several million of euros, where we rebuilt everything around Superbet. They advised us to hire a company from London to do us a due diligence, like someone want to buy us, even we didn't have no one. And that company went very aggressively. This is not good in your books. This is not good that way. This is not good that way. So they force us to improve all of the systems. And that was combined, actually the investment bank we hired to look for potential investors mid to long term were the one which came with the idea. They then hired all kinds of detectives to do all kinds of background checking with us. So at the end, when we came to the investors, we didn't have any kind of bad surprise, because whatever didn't work well, we already knew it. So we were already ready to answer to the let's say, tough questions. And I was happy that after that process, at that time it was so, we are discussing about late 2018, early 2019. Superbet was like 7-8 times smaller than it is today. And it was like 95% pure Romanian business. We had a small operation in Poland, money-losing operation, but that was all. And still we had like 6 term sheet on our table, where the smallest of the 6 term sheet was 100 million euro investments. So we were in a quite comfortable situation where we had to choose between 6 very big US and European PE, debt fund, and different kind of alternative management teams. And we have chosen Blackstone, and I'm very happy because I think that was also one of the best decisions I ever made, because I don't believe that Superbet would have grown so much in the last 3 years without having Blackstone support.
Thank you very much.
Next question. Nobody yet? Otherwise, I'll ask a question in between. You had quite an extensive business experience going into this. So you're not sort of your average young student founder. Did this business experience sort of in the very beginning, right? You're one person, you're 2, 3. Does it then hinder you? Because in the long term, I can imagine it really benefits. But in the beginning, is it also useful?
Look, I had also a very atypical previous experience, because there were different times. You know, today most of the founders are somehow technology related. At that time, they were just totally different industries. So most of my experience was trading related, because the only things which we were able, as today everyone just, it's coding or thinking about the product. If we go back in the late 80s, early 90s, and in Romania, and in Yugoslavia, and in other Eastern European countries, when you had an idea of building something, almost the only way to do it was to trading, because you didn't have a capital to build something. So being a trader and trying to outsmart the ideas of what the people producing something and what the people buying something can have about the value of this, that was kind of business things. So I don't believe that my experience in my previous trading companies helped me so much in Superbet. I just think it was more like a collateral help, because since I had to rebuild a few times from scratch. Once I was in Yugoslavia, then the things went wrong. Then I went to Hungary. Then I had to come to Romania. And then also in Romania, I had to start from scratch 2 or 3 times. And usually when you want to start from scratch, okay, you have an idea what you want to do, but you also have to be very, very open-minded about opportunities. I always told that for my opinion was that an entrepreneur needs to think like that he have like 5 or 10 ideas, and they're like the gazelles which have to go through a river full of crocodiles. And then as much as you have, there are a bigger probability that at least one will survive. But then you have to have the discipline when you see that if the 2 or 3 have survived, you just need to kill the 2 weakest and focus only one, because if you try to get the 2 or 3 in the same time, that probably no one will succeed. And this is very difficult for an entrepreneur, because most of us, we like to be in 5 different projects, you know, and it's a big mistake. So yeah, it was kind of just, you know, just having the luxury of failing for 20 years just build you enough experience that you do so many things wrong that at the end, okay, let's just try what I didn't try, so maybe it will work.
Very inspiring, a very graphical example as well.
I have a question, if it's possible. So, Sacha, from what I know, a few years ago you changed your top management. So you work with top managers from Romania, and now you have top managers from different companies like Betfair's, Google's, and so on. Can you give some advice for future young Romanian managers, what they should do in order to be part of your team?
Look, going back to this, it's not that we have chosen to change the management because they were Romanian. It was more that, and even at that time when I was the CEO of Superbet, so let's say for the period from 2011 till 2019, I mean, I was a CEO also from 2008, 2011, but as I told you, that was really just the survival mode, so it was not anything special then. But from 2011, when we really started to become a good company, I think, and we started growing, and then in 2013 we became #1 retail operator in Romania and just increasing our market share to our competitors, we had a very strong management. It was a combination. We had 2 Romanians, and actually both Romanians were ladies. One of them is here with us. It's my wife, who is a co-founder, and she was running the HR. And the other one was our CFO, which is also still working with us. She's basically my most trusted person. She's the head of treasury, so all of the cash of Superbet go under her control, Angie. And the CEO was a dear friend of mine, who is still a big Superbet shareholder, Marin, who was really the most important person in building the retail network, which becomes so efficient and helped us later on to scale toward digital. And we had 2 partners running our slot business. One was Israeli, one was Croat. So I was always very open-minded about, I didn't care from where it's someone, I was just looking on their abilities. Why we needed to scale, it's because just the management team which we had in Romania was fantastic for Romania. And if our ambition would have been, let's say, lower, and we was discussing, okay, we just want to be the best company in Romania in our field and wait for someone to come to acquire us, you know, then it was more than enough. We would probably have to add few talented people for digital and technology, but it would be enough. However, when I decided to bring the company in a level to try to become one of the top 4 global companies, I understood that we needed to have management with more experience, more international experience in every field, because you need to have a CEO way better than me, because I was not just a good CEO, I was probably one of the worst CEO ever. Then we needed to have really someone who understands operations, which have shifted from retail only to mostly online, totally different kind of things. I remember we had our first discussion and people was discussing about churn, about retention, about daily active users using those strange DIU, and me and my guys was looking ourselves like they are speaking Chinese. We didn't have a clue what all of this means, you know. So it was really a big learning process for us going digital. And we then, when Johnny joined, we just focused to try to find the best talent. So today our chief legal officer, he's Romanian, our CTO, he's Croat, our CEO is from Italy. So we were really looking to find the best talents wherever we can find them and convince them to join us. That's the thing. So you need, like everything else, you need to reset your ambition, your teams, everything at the different stages, you know. So it's you just have to imagine that it's like a game where you have different levels, and you will play as long as you want. You may quit after the second level or after the first, or you want to stay forever in the first level. But if you want to go further, every level have different rules. And I was telling this, you know, a few times, also discussing with my wife. What I feel is the big difference is that when you come to more than $1 billion in revenue or in valuation or whatever, it's a little bit like when you are starting from the startup till you come to some number, and probably every industry have a different number. It's just like driving a car. You start with the second-hand Dacia, and as you have better resources, then you have a Logan, then you have a Cielo or whatever then you have a Toyota, and you end up with a Ferrari or whatever. Then you just need to forget everything what you knew, because you just start to fly. It's not anymore the same things. So the helicopter or the plane have totally different rules than had the cars. So they're not anymore green lights, you don't have any more brakes, you need to take off, you need to land. So basically, it's very scary at some times, but I like the game.
Hi, Sacha. My name is Ursula. I'm from Poland, and I wanted to ask you about the thing you mentioned on the main stage about the engineers that go into coding. They don't go into more hardware or product stuff because there is much more money in the digital stuff. So I wanted to ask you about your private venture, the private VC. Are you looking into companies that do more of that, of products, of hardware, of, you know, like a real life stuff, not only digital or, you know, another app to order food or things like that? Thank you.
Sure. I mean, we have different pockets of money within the family office. So what we're looking for good projects. And good projects and very important, good entrepreneurs. And after that, depending on what is the industry, is it more hardware related? Is it more classical? We always discussing, is it more classical line or is it more technology line? I'm personally a big fan, and of course I'm biased because I had a great success with Superbet. I'm a big fan of something which starts more as a classical business because it forces you to come to the cash flow quite quickly, and then after that it uses that cash flow to expand in digital. But people around me do not share my view, and that's why it's good that you work with different kind of people, because everyone have a different view. So we have our PE division, where people who like more cash flow driven businesses, and then we have also our VC division, where people who want to see growth, to see technology. But I think we have today in our portfolio probably 20 startups, and we're also LP in several VCs. And out of those startups, we don't really have a rule. We have also even few of them who are more hardware-driven than software-driven. So it's more looking to the entrepreneur and our belief that he can succeed. And you know, sometimes also not to succeed necessarily in this project, because if he's a good entrepreneur, he may fail once, he may fail twice, but he will succeed at the end. And then even if we lose the money with him in the first or a second project, but we feel that he have what he need as an entrepreneur and that his ethical standards are okay, we'll still back him up in the new project, because then when he will make it happening, he'll most probably make it happening big, and then we'll be there to take our reward.
Yeah, exactly, because my point is with the, you know, with the hardware projects or product projects, there is longer runway, right? When you get to the MVP, so a lot of VCs don't have the patience for that, right? They want the product as soon as possible on the market, so that's why, you know, mentioning what you said on the main stage, like I wanted to, you know if you are looking into that direction, like if you are interested, do you have the patience for that? Because
yeah, of course. I mean, as I mentioned also earlier, I think we were atypical, and that's what we're looking. We're atypical. I just had the breakfast this morning with a startup based in Bucharest in which we invested as a family office, and that was exactly what I told to them. It's that, okay, you can have a kind of road you choose that you want to go classical way, so you do now your next round, you take some VCs in that round, we'll anyhow keep our pro rata rights there, but you can also go the other way around, that you really start and prove the profitability of the project, start making real money. And if you want to do this, we're also ready. We can stay 5-10 years in the project. We don't have any kind of limitation, because actually the only we don't have external money. So how our family office works, that it doesn't matter if it's PE investments or VC investments, product related, hardware related, it's always the family office is a single LP which use the Superbet profits to reinvest in different other projects. And we are like, we are not looking for the exits, because if you do the exits, then you need to think, okay, where you reinvest. So I will be very happy. Few of the startups we have in our ecosystem, I will be very happy to start for the next 10-15 years as a shareholder in them.
Okay, thank you.
I think we're approaching the last question, because we spent quite a lot of time here.
As far as I'm aware, in 2014 or 2016, the license for the big players to operate in Romania wasn't renewed. How important was that for Superbet, at least for the online?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
So in 2014 or 2016,
Yes.
so in order to operate on the Romanian market, you need a license as a betting company.
Yes.
A couple years back, the big players, Bet365, Bwin, it wasn't renewed for Romania.
Yes.
How important was that for the Superbet success?
Look, it's always easier when you have less competitors. This is for sure. But it was a kind of technical mistake from both Bwin and Bet365, where they get their license removed, and it happened like in September 2015, which didn't really influence us, because since we are not really good in technology back then, you had, I think, 15 license companies in Romania. All of them started in September 2015. Then in October 2015, Bet365 and Bwin lost their license. The biggest winner of that was Unibet, because they became a clear market leader. And Superbet entered the online market. Even we get the license in the same time like everyone else, we just didn't have any platform. So the first month when Superbet started operating was February 2016. So when we entered, the all 14 companies already had their client base doing advertising and everything else. So I don't really believe that it influenced so much our things. Of course, if you would have Bwin or Bet365, probably it would be more complicated for us than it was against, I know, Unibet and Sportingbet. But yeah, that's, you know, we have the same issue everywhere. In Croatia, we're already for a year waiting for our license, and it's just complicated because every country have different licensing process. And in our business, this is one of the really most important things to take care about the compliance. And I suspect that both Bet365 and Bwin was a bit arrogant at that time, because they were just thinking we are too big, so no one will punish us for doing some things which they does.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I think that takes us to the end, because we can go on for the rest of the afternoon, I guess. You'll be here. You'll be difficult to reach, I understand, but still reachable while here. Thank you very much for the inspiring talk initially and for the deep explanations here. I'm inspired, and I think so is the room. So thank you.
Thank you very much.